So it's been a while since we've met up like this, but let me get the bot at the right volume level. Bot. Bot. Okay, that should do it. And then that's... There it is. Boom. This is the Player 4 Podcast. Join us each week as we talk about video games, entertainment, and pop culture, and bring in guests from the Rooster Teeth community. Player 4 has entered the game. Hello and welcome back to the Player 4 Podcast. Been a while. I'm your host, Tristan, aka Shagrazier.
What? We're still doing this? I'm Alex, aka Chaos Black 21.
I guess we are still doing this. I'm Joseph, aka J Dunlap.
We enjoy what we do. It's just that it doesn't happen as frequently these days, which is fine. That's the kind of the point of the podcast, is we get together and chat as long as we have time, but we don't force it if people aren't available. Joseph, I wanted to give you a chance to tell us. The last time we did talk was a few weeks ago. At this point, you had just made your purchase of a new house, and now I think you've moved in.
No.
Oh, tell me about it then, because clearly my information's off.
Okay, closing date is officially currently Wednesday of next week, but is being pushed to, I believe, Friday through an amendment, and it's because there's one last step involved aside from some repairs that got to be made that are being paid for by the seller. Fun story about that situation is when you buy a house and then you sit on it for a while and you don't even live in it and you just hold it and you're like, this will increase in value and I'll sell it one day. It falls into disrepair, so you don't get to be salty when repairs are needed, but they're salty that repairs are needed that cost more than they want to pay. So we're going off of, they put up a certain amount of escrow, and then we're just making repairs out of the escrow until that's gone.
Okay.
And the major one was a leak, so we took care of that. So anyway, that's getting taken care of, and at the same time, the co-signer for the mortgage is like, hey, we need information about your student loans so we know what your payments are. And we're like, well, it's adjusted to a very low number right now. They're like, that's cool, show us. So we show them, and they're like, no, not like that. Show us a better way. We're like, okay, we show it to them a better way. Like, no, not like that. They want it a very specific way, which is like a letter that says, here's how much you owe, here's what your payments are. And we're like, we can't do that because there was legislation that said that there are no student loan payments this year. Like, no, we don't care. You have to do it. So I had to call up my lender and opt out of that and go back to my reduced payment plan of, Sarah.
That sounds sketchy. I would have called somebody with some legal knowledge. Because, like...
Well, the difference between the current situation with what Trump signed for students and what I was already doing is zero. There's no difference.
Right.
I was already paying nothing at the moment because I don't make enough for them to want anything from me.
Oh.
So I called them and said, yeah, do that. So now I'm going to, by next week, have a thing that says what I actually owe because they haven't sent me an email like that since March.
Right.
That's when all that happened. And then Gina already got what she needs. So that's going to get taken care of. We're going to get our mortgage approved, and then we're going to close next Friday and then start moving in. And my students keep saying, when are you moving in? We'll help you. When are you moving in? We'll help you. Because
well, that's nice of them.
We're going to live right across the street from the college. So
yeah. Well, that's nice of them to offer.
It is. My students seem to like me a lot, which must mean they don't know me well.
Give them time.
Yeah, some of them follow me on Twitter, so they know who I really am.
I see. Well, too late for them.
Right.
They've made their decision. All right. Well, hey,
That's all for house.
sweet. No, I mean, like, I don't like that it got pushed back, and I don't like that finagling with the loaning the loans thing for school. But I'm glad that it's getting figured out, and hopefully it all stays on the level and everything works out.
Yes, me too.
I mean that
It's a
sincerely. I
very
know it
awkward
sounds weird to
situation.
say all of that at once. I just mean it sincerely.
Yeah, it's a very awkward situation, and we're getting it worked out. And it's not like it's even a big or what I might even call a nice house. It's just ours.
I mean, that's important, you know? It was a big step when I finally got this apartment, just because I'd been living in Airbnbs for literally years. Just hadn't had a place, and before that, I lived with my parents, and I just had never had, like, an actual lease or a place that I had any semblance of control over. So, like, it's not big, but it's mine, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to
Yeah.
share the bathroom with strangers. I don't have to worry that there's, people smoking the place up and gonna kill me with my asthma. And its location is honestly amazing. Like, I'm right in the middle of Cambridge, right near my office for, whenever I go back to the office. But for
That's
now, I'm
amazing.
working from home. But yeah, like, I'm like a mile, I think, from the office. I could just walk that.
Nice.
So, it's big, even if it's not big, it's big.
It's important.
I was tempted to bring up Amy's ice cream again, but I do that all the time.
I do.
Whenever you say you're going to walk a bunch.
Right? It's been a while since I've had Amy's, because I only get it when I'm in Texas. And we didn't.
It's last year.
Yeah, last year. But I mean, more to the point is that we have the Northeast analog, or probably the rest of the country analog to Amy's, which is Cold Stone. And I haven't been able to get that either. There's one right down in Boston that I used to go to all the time, and it's just, it's been months since I don't think I've been there since last year, honestly, since around Christmas. So, 9 months-ish. Since I got Cold Stone, even. I've been eating, and not to knock it, because it's really good, but I've just been living on Ben & Jerry's for my ice cream needs.
Heck yeah.
Ben & Jerry's is good stuff. Ben & Jerry's give us money.
If you ever find yourself for some reason in Lawrence, Kansas, when hopefully all this is cleared up and we don't have to worry about COVID, maybe there's a place called Silas and Maddie's that is also basically just like all those that.
All right, if I find myself out there and it's not the apocalypse anymore, I will let you take me there.
All right. I mean, I'd have to.
Tristan, if you're ever in Kansas,
I'm not actually there.
Let me think about the next time I was planning to be in Kansas. Love you, Alex.
I love you too.
I'm dead.
Well, that's interesting because there was other people who almost were dead on the topic of role-playing games. Hashtag segue.
What? Nobody was dying.
Somebody was dying. So
okay, the players were.
My players, since we can update the other ones after this, but I think that there's more story to tell for Everybody Loves Riken. I want to start there because everybody's kind of excited, especially Alex, because it has been such a long time since they've gotten to do combat, since they were figuring out some real political stuff in a city for months on end. Now they have gone into the Underdark and they have faced the first couple of terrors of the Dark Tunnels. They went in with sort of a plan and some instructions on how to get to where they needed to go. The reality is, navigating down there is a nightmare in every way possible, so it was pretty quick before they were not entirely sure they were on the right path anymore, and ran into an NPC who was more than excited to lead them where they needed to go in exchange for proper payment.
It might have schizophrenia.
Maybe. He has a pet lizard, a bearded dragon named Daniel. He is a deep gnome. And he has been talking to his pet lizard Daniel as he leads the party around in these dark tunnels. Most recently, in the first combat they had, he was leading them across one of the larger chambers they'd been in as they were moving from tunnel to tunnel. And as he led them through, suddenly the party got attacked by ropers as the stone stalagmites of the room came to life and tried to eat them. After that, the party was a little bit suspicious of him, and so the sorcerer tried to read his mind and found that he had a lot of trouble getting any clear thoughts out of the deep gnome's mind, and so began telling the party, "I think he's being controlled by somebody. I think there's mind flayers about." So he got the party all worked up on that. And as he was trying to convince the party to stop following the gnome, as they continued following the gnome, suddenly they were attacked again, as all of the tunnels down here are dangerous, by a displacer beast. I'm mostly just going through my list of enemies I've always wanted the party to fight, but they all live in the Underdark or somewhere else.
So this is like a dream come true because you're like, yes.
I made a list of all of the monsters, and I'm just checking them off as we go through the encounters. So this displacer beast attacks, and the NPC is telling them to go. We gotta run quickly. And the displacer beast knocks him down, and then attacks the party and tries to run off because displacer beasts are smart. They blink in, they attack, and then they run off, and they lead you into an ambush of other displacer beasts. But Alex managed to stop the creature with his abjure enemy. And the party beat the crap out of it and killed it.
Let's be honest here. The abjure enemy didn't really matter because Vendar basically took all its health away in the first place with his freaking attack, and then that's what I freaking abjured enemy. And then Leah attacked it and killed it.
I've had
to move another time.
I've had such bad luck with my rolls against stupid Vendar's poison. Like, every time he's like, alright, it's a DC 19 con check. And I go, alright, that's fine. This thing's got pretty good plus to con. Every time I've rolled, like, a 3 on die. It's just like, really? You have, like, plus 8. You should not fail this. And I roll a 3.
Yeah, it happens.
It's so frustrating. It was fun, however, that it's always fun when somebody gets cocky about their attack. They're like, I'm gonna blast this thing, and you get to evade it and be like, nah, not this time. And so with the sorcerer's fireball, and the displacer beast having the uncanny dodge ability of the rogue class, so if they make the save, they take no damage instead of half. That was fun.
Yeah,
you gotta vex players sometimes.
Yeah.
But then the party found out that this attack on their NPC left him bleeding out on the ground, and everybody had to beg Riken to heal him.
No, they did not have to beg him.
It sounded like they did to me.
Okay, first of all, Riken wasn't like by them like initially, so then they like called him over. He's like, what's the problem? And then they told him, and so he just joked around, was like, what, everybody bleeds a little bit from time to time.
He was bleeding a lot. You were making jokes while he was dying.
Yeah, but I healed him.
You did. You gave him 5 points out of the 18 damage he took.
I didn't know how much damage he took.
I know. That's not your fault.
And you never know when I might need that other 55 points of
True.
lay on
I mean,
heal.
you gotta save it for later.
Yeah, like everything else. That's why I was like, oh, I could use Abjure Enemy because it actually would be useful in this fight, and I don't really use my channel divinity all that often. So I'm gonna use it here. Oh, waste.
Channel Divinity, they're usually kind of niche, but when you hit that niche, they're super useful.
Yeah. I mean, it's another time where like I have to decide: do I think I'm gonna get a short rest at some point, like in the near future, that I can use this, or do I want to hold on to it for in case I actually really need it?
Hmm.
This case, I know we're not gonna get a short rest anytime soon, but I was like, I have other things in my arsenal. I could use this for
You've
once.
still got Climax Song.
I still have Climax on. I'm waiting for those mind flayers.
Gonna blast them.
That was another good part. I like that mind flayers were brought up because they were thinking that he was under the control, and Breck is just like, I'd love to kill one or two of those things, and everyone else is like, we don't want to meet one or two of those things.
It's always good when you get to really showcase your character's personality in stark contrast to how the rest of the party thinks.
Yeah, I love Riken.
And Riken loves fighting.
Yes, he does.
And Riken loves Riken.
Riken loves Riken.
Riken does love Riken. That's why the title's Everybody Loves Riken. If Riken didn't love Riken, then it wouldn't be Everybody Loves
It'd be
Riken.
like everybody except Riken loves Riken.
Yeah.
I didn't ask for this.
But onto the topic of ferrets, that's when it got weird for me. Interesting, but weird, because a few sessions back, the party was dealing with the abundance of corpses they had created when they invaded the city that was being controlled by a horde of drow. They killed a whole bunch of drow before they made peace with them. And so as part of their accord with the remaining drow was they had to agree to do the body detail and treat the dead as they would treat any other humanoid who died in the city. And so as part of that, half the party worked with the Temple of the Raven Queen to clean and prepare the bodies for the interment ceremony. Where they were actually cremated prior to interment, but still. During that portion, unbeknownst to most of the rest of the party, Vendar found a ferret among the bodies. He was, stripping the items and clothing from the bodies and then cleaning the bodies as the rest of the party was doing. And while he was doing that, out of one of the pouches of one of the drow bodies came this ferret that immediately took a liking to him. And of course he loved it because he had, earlier in the game, Joseph might remember, I don't know if it had happened when Joseph was in the party, he had purchased a ferret and named it Squeakers and kept it with him.
Okay, so I don't even remember. I could have sworn that he bought the second one, so he actually found this one.
He found this one.
Okay.
But I mean, it's reasonable that you don't know this because it happened during that scene, and I rolled for perception checks, and nobody noticed the thing come up to him. People, I think Leah noticed when he was showing it off. Or was interacting with it during that scene. But then after that, he just had it with him and made it a little tiny hat that looked just like his hat. So people just said, oh yeah, it's his pet. And where it came from never came up. But the thing that gave it away, or the thing that has made it suspicious, is that the druid in the party has recently realized he can, at will, talk to any animal. He can hear their thoughts and speak with them, which was a power he didn't previously have, so his connection to nature is increasing. He's able to communicate with animals at will. And when Vendar's playing with this ferret, he's specifically tried to know what the thing was saying and tried to talk to it, and he couldn't understand it, and it wouldn't respond to him. So he became suspicious that it wasn't a real ferret, which is why when the party was down in the Underdark and suddenly everybody had to stop so that the wizard could recast their telepathic bond so that they could continue to communicate silently, he used that time to cast Detect Magic to try and see if this creature was magical. That's why he summoned his familiar to compare it. His familiar glowed with magic, and he looked at the ferret, and it seemed pretty normal until he really spent time and focused on it. And they noticed that there was some fucking police hidden magic in its body that he really had to dig deep for, but it was there. And so he's more convinced now that it's something other than a natural ferret. And it made the sorcerer uncomfortable when he told them that the magic school one of the magic schools he detected was divination.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why you cannot trust ferrets.
Yep, never trust ferrets. They're deceptive and sneaky.
And they steal your stuff and put it somewhere, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, we're having a good time in the Underdark so far. Looking forward to more things trying to kill us.
I'm trying to keep it interesting, keep it fast paced, and I'm getting reacquainted with describing travel without maps, which is something we did a lot over the course of the campaign, but it seems like it's always something I have to reacquaint myself with. It always feels a little uncomfortable. Like, yeah, you go here and this happens. I'm like, it doesn't feel right. I should be asking questions and having the players interact. There's nothing to interact with. Okay, I have to do this.
Yeah, because like for a while now you've had the maps, and so we've been okay. But now, in this particular area, you have to go back to kind of like the older ways that we used to do it.
Theater of the mind. And yeah, because like the cities, I can just draw a big picture of the city, show a bunch of buildings, be like, this is that building, this is that building, this is that building, here's where that NPC is, here's this. And you can just pick something on the map. I'm like, yeah, that is this. Or you'd be like, we want to go to this temple. I'd be like, okay, that temple would be here. Here's where that temple is, and I can just mark it on the map. You know, and there's just lots of things to interact with, and, you know, just point and go. But now it's like, well, we're trying to get to a destination, okay, but the destination has obstacles between here and there. So it's me just getting used to, again, being like, yes, you are heading toward that destination as best you know how, and these obstacles are in the way. You need to overcome these obstacles before you can reach this destination. I'm just like, you know, it's just something to get used to again. But I'm having a good time with it. Like I said, I've got my big list of all my monster encounters that I could ever want, and I get to pick and choose from it and see what's fun.
Dun dun dun.
Monsters. I was really glad to bring back the Ropers. Joseph, do you remember Ropers?
No, I don't know what that is.
So, like, I was happy to come across them in the monster manual because it had been so long since I'd had anything to do with cave-dwelling monsters, and the Underdark is not but a big cave system. But I had first encountered them in my life in RPG video games, like Tales of Symphonia, as, you know, cave monsters, and I thought, oh man, I remember these things. They were a very common monster. It's been so long since I've experienced it. I played a lot of D&D over the years. I've never fought a roper. And it's a cave monster, and we're going into caves. I'm really excited to use this thing because I just don't get to see it a lot. And so I set up this encounter with a couple of ropers, which is really fantastic when you have more than one roper in an enclosed area, because they have they look like stalagmites, you know, just pillars of stone sticking out of the ground, totally inanimate, until they come to life and come at you. A lot like mimics in that regard, and is that you really can't tell that it's a monster until it attacks. But the really fun, and by fun I mean obnoxious, thing about ropers is that their whole shtick is that they have, like, long tentacles that just grab you and pull you in so they can eat you. And like, you know, some monsters are good at grappling. Like the mimic says that if it touches you, it's automatically grappling you, and now it has advantage on biting you. But that means the mimic has to get up to you. The roper's tentacles are 50 feet long, and it can grab up to 4 targets at once from 50 feet away. Like, usually you look at monster stat blocks for 5th edition, and it'll be like, okay, this monster has these attacks, and on its action, it can use one of these attacks. Or it'll be like, this monster has multi-attack, and so it can make 2 of this type attack. Or ones that you sometimes see with, like, bigger monsters. It'll be like, this monster has multi-attack. It makes 2 claw attacks and 1 tail swipe. And you go, okay, so, like, 3 was the most I'd ever seen. For the roper, it just says, the roper has multi-attack. It uses its tentacle to grapple 4 times, then it uses reel, where it pulls all of the grappled creatures in by 25 feet, or until they're adjacent to it, whichever happens first, and then its final thing is that it chooses one of the however many targets it's grabbed and bites them. It's like, its multi-attack is 6 steps.
6 steps.
Because it's 4 individual tentacle attacks, 1 reel, and 1 bite.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was just like, and tries to get you. No, not this time. And tries to get you. Oh, not this time. Oh, tries to get you. Oh, not this time. Then finally, finally Riken. None of them could ever get Riken until he went right up next to one. And it's like, oh, now you're roped.
I mean, they're low CR monsters, so they only had like a +7 to hit. They had to practically roll a 20 to hit to get you.
Yeah, Riken's awesome.
Riken's armor is awesome.
And Riken makes the armor awesome.
The armor at this point is, what, a +1, a +2?
Yeah, something like that.
But you have a shield.
I mean, he has like 23 AC, so he's pretty awesome right now. Like, he has the highest AC of everybody.
AC, and it's 1 or 2 up to 20 for the shield, and it's +1, 21, and 1 for defensive, so that's 22. Oh, the shield is 3, that's right. That's how you get to 23. I always forget. I'm always like, how does the math on this work out? Oh yeah, that's right. You have the specialized shield that you made from the purple worm hide.
Yes.
That was a +3 shield instead of a +2 shield. So yeah, and now the party is super decked out with powerful magic items that they designed and created using Residuum. So you are, I think, prepared for this kind of fighting.
I have to look, because I didn't think the shield gave me anything other than doing, if I got hit, that it would spray poison.
I think it has an extra +1 to AC over normal shields. But yeah, Joseph, we've been playing in Volinaria for a while, and it's just about time for the groups to recombobulate, right?
Yes. Sadly, Alex had to depart from the group, at least for now. I'm saying that because I really want him to come back at some point, so I'm not allowing him to say it's permanent. But what that means, and I've had maybe 2 hours to think about it since he told us. I'm thinking what we're gonna do is just have the whole group get together just tomorrow.
Okay.
In the next session, because the session was going to be Alex, Bree, and Logan to sort of get the 2 parts of the group together, but we're just gonna integrate Bree into the pre-existing group and then look at our options after tomorrow's session for adding a 5th person.
Okay. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I was just hoping you might tell us a little bit about the story so far. But yeah, I'm glad that you have a plan.
Well, that's the starting point.
Yeah.
The story so far, I can give a summary for those who haven't been watching. Shame on you.
I just talked
we're
for a
listening
while,
to
so
the
yeah.
podcast episodes. Shame on you. So the story so far, we've had 2 stories. one was more intricate than the other, but was going to the less intricate one was going to have a bit of a payoff later. And that the less intricate story was we had Alex's druid and Bree's ranger leave the forest to find out. Well, they were being told to leave the forest to go on the pilgrimage for the druids, but also to find out who in the heck is going in the forest and fighting, killing things, but not actually eating them. That's a cardinal sin right there. And then B,
Yeah.
killing anything in the forest, because this is the Great Forest, which is well, that's not the Elvish words for it, obviously, but it's this forest that's protected by the Druid Conclave. That's not a good thing to be doing. Killing things in the Druids' forest. That storyline resulted in kind of a heartwarming ending where they found out who had done this, who had been going in the forest and just killing things to get their antlers and whatnot. They actually
Poachers.
trained this guy how to make jerky and how to treat leather and stuff. And he
Oh.
thought they were just helping him financially, but it didn't matter. They helped him.
You've got to use everything you kill.
Yes, they were adamant. Like Alex was ready to kill this guy at one point.
Oh,
And then they just
goodness.
found out he's just a random guy with no malice. So
Yeah.
they helped him out. Their journey took them from the Great Forest to a city called Santer, which is a fair-sized city with a wall around it, where you have to check in your weapons at the door, basically.
Oh, that's,
And then it goes well usually.
hmm.
Then they did a journey from Santer. They took the road in the general direction of where all the other characters are currently, and then they were going to end up in Gamut, which is actually Tristan. It's your character's hometown as well as Alex's character's hometown.
Oh, gamut.
And the other story involved the buddy cop situation, which is the paladin and the rogue, the chaotic paladin and the rogue. And they ended up in a situation where it was actually in the public interest to steal something. And the rogue was justified in his want to steal something. And it resulted in a trial for a guy who had been running a protection racket because they took away his protection papers that weren't even his.
Yeah.
And then a trial for the rogue then who stole the paper because there was a corruption scandal going on with one of the three leaders of the city. And the final showdown then after the confrontation where Alex had discovered behind the scenes evidence of a conspiracy, it resulted in the guy who had been sent out of the city running the protection racket. He was the word is banished. That's their worst punishment. Still being there, being housed in the home of the politician, and he and the politician and their cronies did battle with our group, which included Logan's character, the bard, who was helping them. Did not go well for them at all, and the cronies gave up after the politician and the protection racket guy were killed really, really fast.
They were killed really fast, and I think they were. But no, one of them was decapitated, and the other one, somebody shot in the eye. It was really kind of gruesome.
Ugh.
Yes, it was quite a scene if you were just a random person going, let's go to the trial. The worst that'll happen is if you're sent out of the city. Suddenly there's this gruesome battle with a beheading and an arrow in an eye. You're like, well, I'm going to need therapy.
I think Gaz is going to need therapy.
Yeah, so that's what's going on there. And then they said, Rook and Gaz, the paladin, and the rogue said, hey, Bard, where you head to? And they're going in the same general direction. So they're going to travel together. And the only reason the Bard is going in that direction is he's got a letter he needs to deliver at some point in that area that will then be picked up by a local courier who will take it to where it needs to go. So I presume then it's a good assumption he will end up in Gambit with you guys, which is the point where I'll have Bree's character attach onto the group through some crisis or another, perhaps. And then we have a group. Now, I'm not a fan of, and Tristan did not do this, I'm not a fan of D&D games where you get a group together for no reason, like they killed a goblin together, and they're like, "Well, we go
But
so well together. Let's spend the rest of our lives traveling." Tristan did a good job with having a reason for the people in his campaign traveling together, having their own organization, and I'm still sort of brainstorming the specifics, but the overall idea with our campaign is that none of them really have a home, or in the case of Alex and Bree's characters had, which was they were just wanting to travel. Um, this is a time in the world where anyone who wants to travel and do good is welcome to do so and will be handsomely rewarded, because there's not a lot of places with central governments and protection with military or law enforcement. It's a lot of lawlessness going on, protection rackets, bandit organizations, corrupt governments, because we're still in the 200-year or so fallout from the collapse of a big civilization that just went away. So that's kind of the premise of where everyone's going to be ending up, is traveling as a group simply because it's lucrative and there's good things to do for people.
I mean, as long as everybody's motivations kind of line up with that, it should work out fine.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things I was saying when everyone was making their characters, was come up with some reason why your character wants to be traveling around, just so then we can get the group together and it's going to gel well. I acknowledge that there might be moments in the campaign where it makes sense to not be traveling for a while, but we're going to just sort of play it by ear and see what happens. I don't have a plan. I have a world, and I know what's going on in the world, and so it's going to come down to how the characters end up interacting with those events.
I mean, that's how you do it
There's going to
sometimes.
be an eventuality of you guys being very influential in certain events that are going to happen, like important people.
Yeah. I like the idea of a world. The world is something that is alive and changing and has its direction. Things are going to happen. Certain influences come into play, and certain other influences can balance or counterbalance those things. And that's why I thought it was interesting. I liked. I wasn't like I never know exactly how things are going to play out in the sessions for my game. I know the general flow of things, but mostly what I try to pay attention to is the motivations of the people within the world that have the power to do certain things, what they can do with that power. So like it was good when after chapter 2 the party in my game had stopped a war. Like this war was going on, this big invasion had happened, the way of life for all of these people had suddenly shifted as this big event had taken place, and the party became involved, and they found a way to at least put that on hold. They had an armistice signed, and now there wasn't aggression anymore. There was still hostility, but not aggression. And so that was kind of like, the party could put that on their lapel as a good deed. They had stopped the death, at least, even if things hadn't totally cooled yet. They were working toward that. And then the unexpected thing that happened, which was one of the members of the group left the party because of difference of opinion, a difference of goal. And they were a person who could be influenced by other forces in the world and become a tool for those other influences, and therefore trigger things on their own, because now they had the influence of other forces and they had resources that throw at the problem. So one of the results of that was the war started again. And so now the party once again became involved in that, saying, we stopped this once, we know it's bad, we need to stop it again. And they went in and they found out the reason that it started up again was this person who had left the party had been influenced by these other outside sources of power, and had used the resources they gained when they left the party to instigate the reinitiating of aggression in the war effort, specifically to draw the party in. Like he knew he wanted to get vengeance on the party, and so he knew if he started the war again, they would come to him. So that was something that was interesting to me, because like I couldn't have predicted that party member leaving. Like I kind of hoped he would, just because he definitely had a difference of opinion with the party, but there was no guarantee that he would.
I actually had a storyline of avoiding a war as well. It was towards the end of a campaign where early on we had established different political factions. Hold on, there's a cat fight outside my door.
I mean, it could actually involve cats.
Well, yeah.
Got like 3 of them.
That's why.
Yes, there's only 3 of them and a dog, so
There's a dog now.
I don't know what's going on out there, but anyway, so we had established some a political figure or two, and who the major factions in the area were, and suddenly we're in a situation where they've brought about temporary peace, but at the expense of long-term peace, because the person they brought in to lead this area, who was the heir to the not really crown, but the position, was not really a good leader. He was just the person that needed to be brought in. So he's got advisors, but he's just not doing a good job. And at that time, there's people trying to pull political strings to have a war, and it's going well because he doesn't know what he's doing, and the other faction really, really wants to go to war. So I have my characters in that situation, and I'm like, go, do something. And I don't know what their plan's going to be. Are they going to fight a war? Are they going to avoid it? And they come up with a plan where they go and they find a nearby elf tribe that they have already had good relations with, and one of them was from the tribe. And they said, hey, will you sign a peace treaty with this local faction and maybe have like trade relations and stuff? And they're like, sure. So now with this peace treaty, it's discouraged the other faction from coming in, because now they're fighting both this local government plus this nearby elf tribe. And I was like, oh, that was a creative way to solve that.
Nice. It's good when the players are get creative and come up with outside the box ways of fixing things. It is unfortunate that they may have sacrificed the long term peace. However, I'm sure that's a problem.
They had no way of knowing.
Yeah.
But it was basically, I think I may have talked about this before, but there was a leader who, his captain of the guard, had discovered that he was doing this plot thingy. He was plotting. He was going to do things with evil intent, with evil factions, and so he assassinated him. Then he's like, crap. His nephew, who's next in line, is not here because, well, they didn't agree. And the uncle said, get out of here. So I've got to pretend like the Baron's still alive. and he's just like on a vacation or something, and I'm in charge until then. I don't want to be in charge. It eventually results in this person who's half work with a shorter lifespan, same effect as being president, where like he just grays and eventually doesn't live that much longer after all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, he's got our main characters, the party, going in search of this nephew, and it takes them several years to find this guy. And the clues are already there. He's not going to be a good leader, but they had no choice. It was either go find this guy, or there's a civil war because people want to be in charge. In the meantime, people are like, where's the Baron? When are we gonna? Where is he? So they go and find him, but he's like a drunkard. He starts fights. He joined a ship to be the ship's doctor because he wanted to leave, and they went and tracked him down in a different area, and he didn't want to go, and they convinced him finally, and then he ended up in the middle of like this big crazy situation involving a cursed item that had already been happening. But they got him back. He took over begrudgingly, and then did his best, which was very bad.
I mean, he did his best.
He did his best. He just wasn't that good of a leader. He did this thing where, and this adventure actually happened on the Twitter game, by the way, if I remember right. No, it was a different one. This is one I did recently. I had done it on a forum game, and then a few years later, I brought it back with an in-person game. It was an adventure of these farmers have a wolf problem, and they go out to this area. It's like this farmer village that has this fisherman village that has farms around it, and they see like evidence that some of the buildings were burned down and rebuilt, and some are just like not rebuilt. And there's a whole history to it, but no one was living there after it got burned down by a super bad guy. Well, this guy, uh, Catherine, I believe, who had been brought in and wasn't a very good leader, thought, "Hey, we have a homelessness problem here. Well, what if we have this village that's technically part of our province? What if we send people to go live there?" So they send all these people to go live there with no training and like go be fishermen and farmers, have fun. So they're all just figuring it out. And meanwhile, they're having a problem with local wolves who are attacking livestock because their food source is getting poisoned at the water source by a dead body.
Mm.
So they fix that problem and they tell the farmers, be more careful about the wolves and good luck with the farming thing. They're like, thanks, we're trying our best.
There's a lot of this trying their best, but it not being good enough going around, huh?
Yes, pretty much.
I want to be honest, I was just struck with inspiration for something that can be going on in the next couple sessions of my game, and I'm really excited right now.
I do that too. I'm getting really excited about some things I want to do in our campaign as well.
Right? Like, I had this idea a week or so ago about how I wanted to integrate a certain storyline, and I'm like, but how do I accomplish it? Like, this part or that part relies on a certain aspect, and I just don't see a way that with the current setup of things that I could accomplish that. I'm going to have to wait and see how I can implement this, if at all. Like, maybe it's just not the right time, maybe it's just not the right way. And now suddenly I've just been struck with some inspiration. I'm like, wait, it can work, and I see how now.
It's always a situation where you're looking for the trigger event, and you're like, okay, I can do it now. As opposed to like movies where the bad guy has this intricate plan that relies on these elements outside their control, and the writers are like, he's so smart, and it's like, what, he planned on getting caught in this specific way, and then this happening that he didn't even have control over, so that this would happen. That's what it feels like sometimes when your DM is determined that the thing will happen instead of waiting for the right time.
Right.
Be like, oh, well, that's totally organic.
I try to make things organic. I try, if my bad guys have intricate plans, figuring out well ahead of when the party is interfacing with it, how it would be working at the time. Like, the fact that the party was on the other side of the world meant that I had all the time in the world to figure out how exactly this conspiracy was going to happen back in the warlike nation to get the wars started up again.
Very nice.
You don't always
I'm
have
looking
that.
forward to similar events in my campaign. I know there are certain things that will happen, but I honestly don't know where you guys will be when they happen. I feel like there's some of them you're going to be heavily involved in, and some of them you might just be involved in like helping people in the aftermath of certain events, which is also a worthy cause.
I mean, for stories like that, even with games that are heavy in travel, it's okay to have recurring places or recurring NPCs, and those recurring NPCs especially really help tie the player characters into the world, because that's something that they can come back to, that's something that they can develop an attachment to and an understanding of. So I find that there's, at least in my experience, there's probably been nothing better for getting the players invested in something than having an NPC that they'd already developed rapport with occur again, so that they can further develop that relationship, especially if it is in some way beneficial to the party.
You mean like Barton?
Yeah, like Barton. He could show up again because that's somebody that the player characters feel they have an attachment to. And
Or that one guy whose name I forgot, but was a good hunter.
that was Barton.
No. Well, okay, Barton was a hunter too. The one that wasn't skinning things.
Oh. The one that
was a
they had to
skinner.
teach to skin things.
Yeah, I forgot his name because it's been a few weeks, but yeah, he might come back as well.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm going
recurring
to be
NPCs
introducing
are
some pretty
really,
colorful characters.
yeah, they're a really good tool to keep in the toolbox for keeping players invested in their character's story, because it's something that they can latch onto and relate to.
Or Wilson the Fletcher.
Wilson the Fletcher.
Wilson! Wilson!
Goodness gracious. I wonder if that Fletcher's ever going to show up again. There was a Fletcher way early on in the story that Vendar assaulted in Everybody Loves Riken. Oof. Wonder if he'll ever come up again.
Oh, that one.
Yeah. I've had multiple people that I've described that portion of the story to say he should be like a big bad. He should reoccur as like the big bad guy who's just trying to get revenge on the party for like threatening him.
I told you,
You know what? If that happens, my character will feel so vindicated.
I told you that, like, at the end of the campaign, like, it's gonna be like all the big bads that we've let escape. They're all just gonna join forces.
They're going to be led by the Fletcher from Aspara.
And right when that happens, Tam's gonna show up and like, no time to explain. He's getting chased by Clan Onke.
Clan Notam.
Clan Notam.
Yep. That's why it's Clan Notam. You left.
Like, no time to explain. Get in the cart.
Go, go, go.
They're like, no.
I've got a pretty good idea of at least how the dragon story is going to play out, which I believe to be the primary arc, so that like when that completes, that would be the end of the game kind of thing. I'm still working out the details, and of course those are going to be shifting around as the players do more, but I think I've got that part at least pretty well worked out. Everything else could happen. You know, the Orc Thane, Fulbury could make a reoccurrence. The Fletcher could come back. That Beholder could make another appearance.
What is this? The finale of Seinfeld?
Maybe. I was hoping it'd be kind of like the finale of Everybody Loves Raymond, but I didn't see that show, so I have to just guess.
Oh, gotcha. Well, maybe Deborah finally comes when he calls her.
Oh my gosh.
I'm glad you got that joke, Alex. I never watched these TV shows, but I appreciate that there is humor to be tied in here.
He's always, Deborah! Deborah!
She never shows up.
So the ending, and she's like, what? The finale of Seinfeld is everyone they've wronged through different episodes shows up and like they're on trial for something, and those are all character witnesses.
Or just like, yeah, they're a jerk face.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, we'll have to see how it all shakes out, as I like to say.
I'm curious.
I'm curious how many years it's going to take.
What time is it?
Time to get the flip out of here? Wait, no.
That's what Malachi sounds like.
I looked over, I'm like, there are 4 names in the list. It's Fred Boat.
Hey, Sarah, come here. Say, it's time to get the flip out of here.
It's time to get the flip out of here.
I'm flipping out.
Yeah. Woo!
Hashtag goodbye, everybody.
Boa noite.
Goodbye.